There's 4 items on this table that you must take with you on any canoe trip. Do not leave them at home. Believe it or not, a paddle. This paddle here was just given to me as a gift, a retirement gift by a very close friend of mine at work. I couldn't believe he actually went and bought this, but it's a Badger paddle. I can't wait to try it. So don't forget your paddle. Believe it or not, there are people who forget their paddles, right? Don't forget your paddle. Next thing, compass. Always, always, always make sure that you carry your compass with you. Don't rely on your phone. Knife. Always, always, always bring a knife. The last thing, but not least, is a map of where you're going to go. Now, what you should be doing right now, Algonquin gets crowded as crazy, and other parks get crowded like crazy through July and August. So you should be planning your trips now and figuring out exactly where you're going to go. In so doing, when you plan out a trip, make sure you write down your location start. Now you might be doing, if you're just going on one lake, it's not a big deal, right? But if you're doing tripping like I do, so you're actually, tripping involves you portaging the canoe over several portages to get away from the fray, right? Get away from most of the people. And it means you could be going in like 10 miles, 15 miles, whatever that might be, right? So you want to put your location start, and these would be days, right? Your day's trip. So this would be a day trip from location start, location end. Then you want to put your distance. Then you want to put an estimated time of arrival at your location, right? This is important to put that in. And then your portages. I always put down how many portages I have and the longest portage. In other words, just so I'm ready for it, because you have no idea how painful some of those portages can be. Okay, the first map I'm going to show you, this one's produced by the Friends of Algonquin Park. It's an amazing group. This particular map can be bought at any kiosk, any Algonquin outfitters, Oxtine outfitters, whatever. You can buy this map, okay? It's there. Now, this map has tons and tons and tons of information on it, but I wouldn't consider this as a tripping map. And the reason why, it's because it encompasses the entire park. It's a lot of data. Okay, on all maps, you're going to have what the symbols are, what they mean, right? All the information that you need is right here. You're also going to have a scale. This scale is super, super important when you're planning a trip. It's super important. This one happens to be 1 inch to 2 miles. All right, it's a huge map. So these white lines indicate the canoe routes. All right. There's a lot of data on here. The black dots on this map indicate the campsites. Now remember, in Algonquin, you book the lake. You do not book a campsite. So it's first come, first serve. That's just how it works, right? Kind of a pain in the butt sometimes because you're aiming for a nice campsite that you know of, but no, it doesn't happen. Now, unless you're very lucky. These yellow lines here, those are trips that my son and I have undertaken, and this one particular trip was 130 kilometers, and it was backbreaking. This whole area here, there was no water in the river. I mean, it took us forever to get through here. Regardless, the thing is, it was a great trip afterwards, right? After you get over the sore bones and stuff. This other trip we did here was 130 kilometers. We came up and around and in. Again, this map is too large to carry with you on an excursion, unless you're base camping. Base camping means that you're going to plunk your butt down on one particular site, and you're just going to roam around from there. Another thing on all maps, you can see it up here as a compass rose, okay? It'll tell you these grid lines. You can see these black lines that are running down the map. This is called your grid, right? That's important when you're planning a trip. We'll get into that in a minute. There's your compass rose up here. The pencil's on grid north right now, as opposed to magnetic north. When you're planning a canoe trip, I love reading canoe books. I just love it, right? This dude here, Kevin Callan, I believe he's still writing. He's definitely on YouTube a lot, but he's written many, many books on paddling. And his paddler's guides, I believe he's got several. Anyway, I have one for Algonquin, and this one here is Ontario's Lost Canoe Routes. I've not paddled any of these yet that I'm aware of anyway, but these books are incredible. The way he laid them out is fantastic. He's got your map here. He's got the your issues, what issues might have as far as like portages, etc., right? And what's really great is when he, when you get to he explains it. He explains the whole trip to you, and here you go. There's your loop right here. So it has everything on it you need to know. Like it has your the longest portage. It has your difficulty, your alternate access, information, outfitters, has everything. How long it's going to take you, 8 to 10 days, that one, right? This is, I'd highly recommend you get a couple books like this. It'll just help you in planning. Now let's get on to these other maps. These are made by a fellow by the name of Jeff. Man, does he make a good map. It is the best map I've ever used for canoeing, and I've been doing this forever. So Jeff's map, now he's changed it a bit now. These are the old maps. However, they're great, and I still use them. So let's go to the central. So these maps, the reason I like these maps so much is just because the way he lays it out, this Jeff fella, it's incredible. I'm telling you, he's got so much information on here. It's crazy. This is what's great about it. These yellow lines represent all the different canoe routes you can take. Now, you probably can't really see this too well, but you'll see that there's numbers on these yellow lines. These numbers indicate roughly how long it's going to take you to paddle from one side to the other between points. So we have a point here, and a point there. This is super crucial for planning. And the reason why it's super crucial is because to get across some of these lakes, it can take up to 6 to 8 hours. So you need to be able to plan your day. They are waterproof. However, I do carry a waterproof case, always a map case. You can purchase them at Algonquin Outfitters or any one of the outfitters up there. That's a map case. You just fold the map up into your, into the case itself, and you're good to go. That just protects the map. Okay, as I stated earlier, on every map you're going to have a scale. That scale's uber important, okay? This particular one is 1 to 84,000. That's super important. We'll get into that in a minute. You're also going to have this here. This shows you your grid north, your deviation from true north, which is 1.46, and then your magnetic north and your deviation from true north. This here in total, the deviation from grid north to magnetic north is 13.06. It's important to know. When you open up the map, that's where Algonquin Outfitters is, right here, 11. To paddle this entire lake, now he's got the times in here, but to paddle this entire lake, dependent upon wind, and trust me, there's always a wind blowing this way. All right, always. Sometimes she comes this way, but for the most part, it's blowing. Man, it'll push you against this shore, and sometimes you can't paddle against it. I broke my canoe seat paddling against this because I was putting so much pressure down, right? Regardless, the point being is you can take a boat, a taxi, a water taxi from here to the top end. There's 2 points. 3 points, 2 and 3. They'll drop you off anywhere on the lake, really. But if to get up to here, it's about 90 bucks. It'll cost you about $90. But I think it's money well spent, because if you're going to paddle this, that's a full day. I mean, that's 8 hours. And against that wind, you'll just be so tired, it's incredible. Anyway, regardless, the point being is that's this, right? Now, Jeff's maps, he changed the name, and it's gotten to Maps by Jeff. Subtle change. But the map difference is incredible. Okay, this is his new map. Maps by Jeff. This is West Algonquin, all right? So that's his old map. This is the new one. I'm going to show you the difference, though. So on this particular map, again, you've got your scale. This is 1 to 50,000 now. Here's your magnetic north, your grid north, and your true north. Again, it has all your symbols here, all the things you need to know. So he explains here the distances. So 9.4 kilometers, it'll take you 2 hours and 5 minutes. Based on a 5 kilometer an hour stroke, right? Paddling. This tells you this is a new added feature to these maps, is the portage trails are now, they show you the inclination or declination on the trail. It's incredible. It's really, really cool. So you can be ready for a heart-pounding hike, or you can be saying to yourself, wow, it looks pretty straight to me. It's going to be cool, right? Anyway, so now this map is 25 bucks. All right, but I can tell you it is well worth it. Very well worth it. There's some more symbols here, okay? He very well lays this out. I have not seen a map this good in forever, I swear. All the writing on here, oh my God, all this stuff is incredible. It's all about the history of the place. He's got little notes that he's written himself on here. He's paddled much of this area, and he relies on other people to give him the information. There's so much information on this map. Oh my God, sitting in your tent at night, holy crap, you can go through this like it's just nuts. He's even got these points here where you just scan it with your phone and it'll tell you exactly what the landing's like. In other words, like where you're going to park your car. It's a very, very well laid out map, right? So this is Canoe Lake area. This is probably the busiest spot in the whole park. I do not like going on a Canoe Lake. It's crazy, insane with people. I mean, it's busy. And everybody heads this way. So they'll head north, they'll go up through Joe. This is Joe Lake here. And they'll either head up the east arm into Burnt Island, or they'll head up this way, right? Into Tom Thompson and up into, most people are aiming for, believe it or not, they're aiming for Burnt Island. And if they're really set on a few days journey, they're going to go up into big trout or white trout way up in the top end. That's if they're really adventurous, right? For us guys who don't like a lot of people around, we're not going out of Canoe Lake. It's not going to happen. We're coming out of somewhere else. Plan a trip from Canoe Lake. Why not? Because if you're new at this is exactly where you want to go out of. So let's assume that you're going to park your car here at Canoe Lake. There's an Algonquin Outfitters there now, and they will supply you everything you need, including food. So everything's here. Okay, we're going to suppose that we're going to run out of Canoe Lake, all right? If you're a novice, or if you're new at canoeing, or if you just like being around people, this is where you want to be. This is one crowded place, man. However, it's a neat jump off point. It's right off Highway 60. You can't miss it, right? So you're going to start here. Let's say we're trying to get to Timberwolf Lake. All right, now that's way up. Timberwolf Lake is way up past where I've got it shown here, okay? But that's where we're going to go. How long is it going to take us to get there? How long? This is why you must plan, right? The cool thing about these maps is you don't need to work out distances or anything like that. It's already done for you. Now, this particular map is a 1 to 50 map, okay? On my Sonoto compass here, it's got a 1 to 50 scale. So I could measure the distance off just by walking it up using my scale at the bottom. I don't need to do that. I really, truly don't need to do that because Jeff has it already laid out here. This is why I love these maps so much. So starting at Canoe Lake, here we go. We got a 3.6 kilometer run, right? From Canoe Lake, from here, from this point to the top of Canoe Lake. That's where it forks. That's where we'll use the compass at that point. So you're going to start here, 3.6 kilometers to here. How long does he suggest? 50 minutes. If you're new at paddling, this lake, it doesn't get too bad with wind, but if you're new at paddling, it might take you a little longer, okay? So add another 10, 15 minutes. But for the most part, it's going to take you an hour to run this lake, bottom to top. We're going up to Joe Lake, though. So here we go. This is where you're going to, when you get to this point here, you're going to use your compass and figure out which way you're going. You're not going straight up here. We want to go this way, right? So you're going to deviate that way for sure. Right? From this point, you're going to run to the top of Joe Lake. It is a 2.8 kilometer run. That's including the portage, okay? Now, he's suggesting that it's going to be 55 minutes. The reason why it's 55 minutes is because you got to do the portage. Once you get out of the canoe and you unpack and do everything else, it takes time. Walking is a lot slower than paddling. All right, so I've written it down here. So we got our location start. We got Canoe Lake, location end, Joe Lake. We've got a distance of 6.4 kilometers, 2 hours. Good, that's awesome. At the end of 2 hours, you should be at this point. So now you have to ask yourself which way you're gonna go. Try to avoid as many portages as you can. So we're gonna keep moving totally north. So we're going to go through Teepee Lake. Believe it or not, I've never paddled through Teepee Lake. So we're at the bottom of, we're at the top end of Joe Lake here. To the middle of Teepee Lake, he's got 1.1 kilometers, which is 15 minutes. All right, so we're going to write that down. So 1.1, 15 minutes. Still lots of time left in the day. Let's see how far we can get, right? This is the fun stuff. So you got 15 minutes up to Teepee Lake. Now, we're going to keep moving north. So we're going to move up through Fawn Lake and into Little Doe. So let's do it. From Teepee to Little Doe is only 3.4 kilometers. It's a pretty easy paddle, and it'll take you about 45 minutes. Suggest maybe 50 minutes, even add an hour, it doesn't matter. So you're going to paddle up into here, right? There's no portages, so it's real simple. So you're going to move up here, you're in the canoe the whole time, right? You get to here, and the wind shouldn't be a factor. That's not going to factor in here. So now you're sitting on Little Doe. You might want to take a break here, whatever it might be, right? Chill out for a little bit, and then you're going to get moving again. Now, it depends on how adventurous you are and how skilled you are. I mean, you can push all the way up into Timberwolf, and I would personally push all the way up in. Now you're going to move from Little Doe, you're going to move up into Tom Thompson Lake. The distance between Little Doe and Tom Thompson is only 1.8 kilometers. No big deal, no wind to worry about, and no portages. Fantastic. So you're looking at a run time of maybe 25 minutes from this point to this point. This is why this map is so fantastic. You don't have to guess. There's no guesswork. It's freaking awesome. You made it to this point now. So now you've got an expenditure of, let's just suggest 4 hours you've been on the water. I mean, I'm pushing it, okay? 4 hours. So let's say from here, now you've got another 4 hours of daylight left. No problem, let's go. You've got a huge portage here. So according to Jeff's map here, this portage looks pretty level. It's not too bad. You're going to paddle from this point here all the way, and you're going to paddle to here. You're going to unload. That's why it's so important, pack proper, right? And then you're going to carry all your junk right here up through this long portage. This portage is over 2 kilometers long. It's 2,380 meters long. Trust me, that's long. You're going to get into Ink Lake. You'll take a nice break here, right? You'll be able to take a nice break right here. And then you're going to paddle this McIntosh Creek into McIntosh Lake. To this point here, you have run 6.2 kilometers. That's going to be 2 hours minimum, depending on that portage, okay? If you're beat, you're going to want to take a rest on this portage, and you're going to chill out for half an hour or whatever it might be. So in total, you're sitting on McIntosh Creek right now. You're probably looking at about, let's just suggest it's been, yeah, let's say 5 hours to here, even maybe 6 hours to this point, okay? This is your target, is Timberwolf Lake. I've camped on this lake numerous times, and it's a really nice, quiet spot. If you want to push it and finish this last little bit and set up on your campsite, whatever campsite you manage to find, then let's push it, right? So from this point here, you're going to go from McIntosh. It's only a 3.2 kilometer paddle from this point, and one little portage is 410. It's a hell of a portage, though. Trust me, it even shows on the map here, this gray line, that's an incline. A pretty hefty incline right here, all right? So you're going to get out of the canoe here, and you're going to be humping all your gear up this huge freaking hill. Yeah, it's going to feel like hell. But anyway, you should be able to move from this point here to this point here on Timberwolf in about an hour. So all said and done, you're looking at about 7 to 8 hour run time. There's a couple points here that I have to make, though. And one is pertaining to navigation. First off, when you're canoeing, it's pretty difficult to get lost. However, when you're out and you've got to you see forks in the road like this here, it's very easy to take a side route by mistake. And you think you're going to go here. That's going to put you way off time, right? This is where your compass is going to come in. Now on all maps, you're going to have a grid line. You can see the pencil is on this grid line here. It's gray. And these grid lines are grid north. Magnetic north is 16 degrees west of grid north. Here's how it works. West is best, east is least. In Ontario, it's always west. So in other words, what you're going to do is you're going to add 16 degrees onto whatever bearing you come off of here. So you're sitting on the lake. I know it sounds confusing. You're sitting on the lake right here, right? And you're not sure, you know it's not this route, but you're not sure if it's that route or that route that you have to take. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your compass out. And you're already going to have this already figured out on your timeline sheet, Okay, you're going to already have this math already done, just so you're not freaking out in case it's raining or whatever it's doing out there. It's not always sunny, I promise, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to line up your compass edge here. Don't worry about the needle, okay? It does not come into play when you're working with maps. So here we go. That's where you're sitting in your canoe, roughly. And you know you have to hit that point up here, which is the next portage. You know you've got to hit it. So you're going to line up the edge of your compass because why? That's the direction you're traveling in, okay? You're traveling in that direction. You're going to then turn the bezel of the compass. This is called the bezel. You're going to turn the bezel so that's in line with your grid north, all right? So you can see these little black lines. Let me hold this up for you. These little black lines right here that are embedded in the bezel, that's what you're going to line your grid north up to, okay? So you're going to just simply line it up. I always do this with my pencil just so it helps me out, that's all. Then you're going to turn this. So remember, direction is from here to here. That's the way you want to go. Turn this bezel so it lines up with your grid north, which is pretty much right where I am now. That's good right there. Then what you're going to do, you're going to read your compass bearing here off the top, okay? So we're looking right here. Wow, we're looking at about 304 degrees. And then you're going to add your 16, right? You always add because it's west. So you're going to add, right? So you're looking at 320 degrees magnetic. So when you're sitting on the lake, you're going to hold the compass in your hand and you're going to set her for 320 degrees. There, she set at 320, see? Now the needle comes into play when you're on the lake, okay? There's nothing to draw the needle away from magnetic. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn your entire body. So it's set at 320. You want to put the needle in the house being that red line, that red zone right there, right? So you're going to put the needle in the house and that's the direction you're going to go. Okay, that's 320 degrees. So the pencil is pointing to the way you want to go when you're sitting on that lake. So that's it. So you're good to go. So have your plan ready to go. Do your sheet, right? Write out your deviations. So in other words, 16 degrees west. Calculate all that stuff out. Calculate your time. And I think that you can do this within 8 hours, no problem. Is pack light. Always pack light. As light as you can. Because these portages will knock the crap out of you. They really will. Walking 2 kilometers on a city street, on a sidewalk is one thing. Walking 2.3 kilometers in a wilderness park, whole other ball game. So this is from his original maps. These are Jeff's maps. Now it's Maps by Jeff. But it's right here. It says camping sucks. Yeah, it's painful and challenging and awesome, all rolled into one. That statement couldn't be any truer. It is so true, and yet we keep going back for more. Why? Because of this. It's all about exploring, and it's all about fun. It is fun.
Complaining about one backpack. I have 120 pounds on me. Get out of here.